Everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So today I've got a very important update from yesterday's video in Duncan v. Bonta. Now this update comes directly from the CRPA, and I'm not sure how many people are aware, but Duncan is actually a CRPA case. So if you're somebody who lives in the state of California and you're not a member of the CRPA, you might want to consider becoming a member because they are doing some really good work over there. So let's go ahead and talk about what that update is and get to it. Now, real quick before we get started, if you guys value content like this where we're trying to keep you up to date on everything that's happening with your Second Amendment rights, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thumbs ups are always appreciated, and that little alarm bell will let you know what's going on. Now, one thing I do want to mention real quick before we get into the update is that there was quite a few cases at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that have been waiting on a decision in Duncan. If you guys remember, since we've talked about this so much over the past 8 years or so, you'll know that cases like Miller, which is the California so-called assault weapon ban case that's been sitting at the Ninth Circuit, has been held in abeyance waiting on the decision in Duncan. Now that we have the decision in Duncan, which was waiting on a decision in Rahimi, and I don't know how Rahimi had any effect on Duncan whatsoever other than it allowed the Ninth Circuit to delay this anymore, we kind of know what's going to happen with Miller. I think we all already knew what was going to happen, but I think this really gives us some insight as to what they're going to do with Miller. They're going to play more games with it. They're going to uphold California's law, and that one is going to be a big decision that I think could lead to the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court doesn't end up taking Snope, which we should find out maybe later tonight or even on Monday what they're going to do with that. Okay, so let's go and talk about what's going on here. Now, in yesterday's video, we talked about Duncan. We talked about the good. We talked about the bad. We talked about the incredible dissent from Judge Van Dyke. Van Dyke, by the way, who's an absolute beast. I mean, take a look at this picture right here. This is in the back of his office. And he went on from there to explain how things work for all those knuckleheads at the Ninth Circuit that just completely ignored the facts and statistics altogether. I mean, when they came out with this decision, they just screwed it up so bad that they said that, well, magazines are just accessories. They're not actually protected by the Second Amendment. So they called them accessories, so they didn't even have to use the test of the Second Amendment, right? They didn't have to look at any historical analogs or anything like that. They didn't have to do the extra work because they're just accessories. As a matter of fact, they did look at some historical analogs and said that they were relevant when they weren't relevant whatsoever. The historical analogs that they pointed to were things like powder storage. I mean, how does powder storage have anything to do with the existing magazine ban in the state of California as it stands today? It doesn't, but they will stretch as far as humanly possible to try and get their agenda through, because that's all it is. It's all just an agenda. They knew from the very beginning what they were going to do, but they just tried to delay and delay and delay, and then here we are. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to this very exciting update from the CRPA. So I want to share this video clip with you real quick. This is Chuck Michel of Michel & Associates. He is the volunteer president of the CRPA, and he was interviewed on CRPA TV. I'll put a full link to the interview down below, and I suggest you watch it. It is one of the best breakdowns that you're going to see on the Duncan decision absolutely anywhere on the internet. So definitely check out that video. But I want to share this with you because, again, these guys have intimate knowledge of the case since they're the ones that have actually been litigating it.
A lot more interpretation of this 147 pages to come. But at first glance, where are we with this opinion?
We are going to the Supreme Court is the answer to that in a nutshell. And it's an opportunity for the Supreme Court to set the record straight, to clarify Bruin's methodology, to stop the shenanigans that lower courts, in particular the Ninth Circuit, have been playing with how to interpret Bruin and apply the Bruin methodology correctly. And they could, I mean, there's several progressively inclined courts that have bent over intellectually backwards to try and twist the Bruin and the Heller rulings so that they can uphold all manner of gun control laws. And the Supreme Court now has the opportunity to emphatically set the record straight and correct the misinterpretations that these lower courts have been making of the Bruin decision. Now, that is the short answer. We're going to SCOTUS. We've been there before. the Supreme Court had been asked to consider Duncan. Remember, this case was filed in 2017. And this oral argument that we just got a ruling on today was made a year ago. So they sat on this for a year. I fully expect that the Supreme Court, and this case also is in a good procedural posture because this is from a judgment from Judge Benitez down in San Diego. Not a preliminary injunction ruling, which is one of the reasons why the Supreme Court has not been taking what otherwise would be good vehicles for a Second Amendment review, because they were up on preliminary injunction rulings rather than a final judgment. This is a final judgment. This is the right procedural posture. The record was developed, and it's all the evidence is in. And so what the Ninth Circuit has done is narrow what is considered an arm. Remember, the Bruin test says you first figure out whether or not the language of the Second Amendment applies, the right to keep and bear arms. What is an arm is something that's being debated right now about suppressors, about magazines, about other gun parts. In Illinois, they're arguing about whether they can ban parts or repairs. So the threshold question is a magazine a arm?
Now, in yesterday's video, I pointed out the fact that I don't think there is another case, a magazine ban case, that is as ripe as this one for the Supreme Court, because this case is finished. This case is done. It has been heard at the district court level multiple times where it was found unconstitutional. It has been heard at the Ninth Circuit where the 3-judge panel says that it's unconstitutional. The en banc panel has said multiple times it's unconstitutional. It has already gone up to the Supreme Court where they vacated the Ninth Circuit's decision and remanded it after Bruin, saying, hey, you know, this is the Bruin decision. You have to do things differently now. You pretty much did it wrong the first time. Redo it. And they sent it back down. So this is a case that's already gone through its life cycle other than the Supreme Court. And that's what the Supreme Court likes to see. And Chuck Michel, he confirmed that, yes, in fact, they are going straight to the Supreme Court, which is fantastic, because if the Supreme Court does not take the Ocean State tactical case that is currently sitting before it right now, then this case right here would be a perfect candidate for them to actually take. So I don't think that the Supreme Court would have any other choice but to take Duncan once it gets there. But again, this is some really exciting news. We have a new case that's going to be heading up to the Supreme Court, a new case that I think is perfect for them, and a case that I feel like we have an amazing chance of winning. And the attorneys at Michel and Associates and the people at CRPA are absolutely some of the best. So I'm really waiting to see what that brief looks like and what the argument to the Supreme Court actually is. So I'm really excited about this one. I think that even though we lost here, I think this could eventually be the big win nationwide that we have all been looking for. So again, I wanted to share that with you. Some really incredible information and insight from Chuck Michel and the CRPA TV. So anyway, check out the full video down below. Thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and you guys have a great day.